where production meets artistry. Welcome to the Producer Evolution podcast, where we talk about everything and anything music and recording related.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Producer Evolution podcast. My name is Corey Snap.
And my name is Felipe.
And today our topic is finding your sound. So yeah, Felipe, this was sort of your idea for a topic. You want to just kind of kick things off?
Yeah, so I know a lot of musicians have an issue with finding their sound, and they say that, sometimes they feel like they never find their sound or they just don't know how to find it. And I know a lot of people struggle with it, even myself. So I thought I'd make an episode specifically on this and stuff I've learned over the years. Personally, I don't feel like I found my sound quite yet, but I'm a lot closer than I was before. And so I just have a few little notes here that, maybe you guys could follow to help you get to the point where you have a sound or, you're closer to getting your sound. So one of the first things I have, is obviously no one gets their sound right away. So don't worry if it takes you longer than others to get your sound. And then another thing I found really helpful is if you let's say, for example, your main focus is making EDM, I would suggest finding another genre that you're passionate about. I'm not saying force yourself to listen to another genre just because it's another genre. For me personally, I really love punk as well as EDM. And so, I'm passionate about both of them. And so what I'll do is I'll try and mix EDM with punk every once in a while and try and do something more unique, But if you just listen to EDM all the time, for example, you're not going to get as much of a variety in your sounds, even though, there's different subgenres, like dubstep, rhythm, future bass, house, whatever, but it's still inside the electronic realm. And so I feel like having separate genres outside of your main genre that you're passionate about to help combine those will help you get that sound more.
Yeah, I totally agree. And even what I'm seeing a lot, here lately is people are incorporating a lot of organic sounds, that you might not necessarily normally hear in the past in electronic music, bringing that into electronic productions.
Of course, you listen to Odessa. They've been using a lot of organic stuff. Who else was it? I know Please and Thank You did a song that was basically had a lot of those really organic sounds, really percussive stuff. Dabin uses a lot of those too. It's just, becoming huge now.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you can't record, a live guitar or something, the, Contact libraries, for instance, are just, they're insane at this point, right? They sound super, super realistic. So
they're so expensive, but man, aren't they good, man?
Yeah, it can add up. I would just say, it's not something worth stressing about finding your own sound. There's no really right way to do it. I just think it's something that naturally is going to happen over time. I feel like even just I'm about 7 years into electronic music production. I feel like, I'm starting this new project and then I'm just now really starting to find the sound that I've been kind of looking for.
Oh yeah, same. I've been doing this for almost 9 years now. And it's just one of those things where, you spend a lot of your first years going through different genres and figuring out what, what works and what you really enjoy doing. So I started off with Big Room, if you remember that, Corey. I'm sure they probably still make it, but I started off with that. Then I tried, going for glitch hop and progressive house was my main thing. And then now I'm doing more future bass, punk, melodub kind of stuff. Just because I found that's what I like doing, regardless of what people tell me what I should or shouldn't do, which is another thing, actually, in terms of finding your sound. Don't let people tell you what you should or should not make. You do what you want to do because it's your music. It's your life. It's not, someone else's music or someone else's life,
Yeah. And I think the passion is going to kind of shine through better when you stick to what you actually enjoy making.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, it's probably going to change over time, your sound and everything. And I guess a good starting place is, to try to emulate those that you admire at the time. So, you can find any number of tutorials on YouTube and such to kind of get started, so maybe start learning synthesis. There's a site called Centorial that has a free version where you can kind of try it out for a little while. And then they do have a paid version that goes more in depth. But I remember trying the free version way back when, and it's definitely a good intro into learning synthesis. They kind of show you like turning the different knobs, what they do, the different waveforms, how, what a sine wave sounds like, what a saw wave sounds like, and all that stuff. So
there's like so much stuff that goes into synthesis. It's just insane.
Yeah. And then another thing I would say, if you are using these YouTube tutorials at first to kind of learn how to create the different sounds, is to actually, go along with them and turn every knob and see how that sound or how that turning of the knob is affecting the sound. And, instead of just fast forwarding to the end of the video and copying all the knobs, just, actually, go through the steps and see how everything is affecting the sound,
Yeah, that's the best way to do sound design, is like knowing what's doing what instead of random. I mean, you could still, if you're not watching a video, you can still randomly come up with sounds and be like, oh, this sounds pretty good, and then go from there. Because I mean, if you look at tutorials, you don't want to be...
Yeah, I mean, there's always the happy accidents of just kind of experimenting with turning a bunch of knobs,
Exactly. Because there's times when you experiment and you find a really good sound, but the thing is, if you're going to like a lot of YouTube videos and you're like, how to do Skrillex Bangarang Growl or whatever, you might end up copying someone else's sound a bit too much, but it's still a good place to learn from in terms of, sound design. But another thing too, like regardless of the genre that you do, composition can still be part of your genre. And I know a lot of you guys know I'm huge into composition and music theory when it comes to like music production and stuff. But I mean, it's true, like for example, I feel like Owl City has his own kind of melodic style that you can tell it's Owl City because of the way he makes his melodies, or Sid the Sky with his chords, they sound really like him. So even if sound design isn't your forte, or it's not something you do a lot in your genre, like, you could still be like, okay, I want to try and mix like this blues style melody with, this and whatever. And so that's another way to kind of help you find your sound there. That's not just, doing sound design.
Yeah. Another thing I would say is, to not be ashamed to use like preset packs, and then just take those presets that you like and tweak them, to your liking and whatnot. I definitely use presets and samples. I don't create everything from scratch. You kind of got to pick your battles, right? Like it takes a long time to create a nice sound. And if you're making all of your sounds from scratch, that's quite the time investment. So I think the best thing is kind of a mix between creating your own sounds and then, having a bank of sounds that you can kind of pull from and tweak.
But basically be careful with presets though, because, you can run into the issue of not knowing what the preset does, and then you're not learning from your presets. Like I used to do that all the time with compression. Like in FL, there's a plugin called Maximus that has something there's a lot of drums called NY compression. And I would just put it on, not really know how it works, because I never knew how, like, truly learned how compression works until recently. And then I would just be like, oh, it sounds good. And you go on there. But then invest in the time to be like, so what's it actually doing? What's each thing, doing to help make the sound, sound the way it does? And, if you do that, I feel like you'll learn a lot more than if you just add presets and not know what they're doing,
Yeah, I mean, what you could do is you could have the preset, open on one side, and then you could open a, just reinitialize preset, just a stock preset next to it. And you could gradually, turn all the knobs to get to the point where it matches up with the preset, and you can see, what they did to get to that point and how, every turn of the knob was affecting the sound over time.
Yeah, of course. That's the best way to kind of approach it, to be honest. All right. So another thing you can think about when it comes to like finding your sound is think of your sound like a collage of different styles of artists you like. So let's say you really like AJR or John Bellion and you like their lyric style, and let's say you're a singer, you can take that lyric style, or not take it. It's take parts of it that you like. I remember our artists I went and I saw in Gearfest in Sweetwater once said, if you steal an idea from one person, that's plagiarizing. But if you take different ideas from different people, it's called research. But just don't plagiarize. But basically, just kind of see like, okay, this is kind of modeled after, like their lyric style. And then let's say you like Davin's guitar, solos, and you can take part of that, and like the beats or like the rhythm or the drums or whatever from this person, you can mix them together. Even if it's not cohesive at first, you can still work on it until it sounds more cohesive.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically like just pulling from a lot of different places of inspiration to create your sound.
And another thing to keep in mind too is that you don't necessarily have to follow rules because, everything you learn are just tools, not rules. If you want to make, for example, a house track at 150 BPM, then make a house track at 150 BPM. It's experiment, do whatever you want. You don't have to follow certain rules, to do something. Now there's like different customs that people do in music, like chord progressions and, structure and stuff like that, which you can follow. If you don't want to follow it, that's completely up to you. But there's certain, customs that we all do. And that's like something you can base your music off of, but it doesn't have to be following exact,
Yeah, I mean, there's like guidelines or guideposts or whatever you want to call them, in different genres, like, drum and bass a lot of time is like 172 BPM or whatever, but, you can always stray away from that.
And another thing, if you haven't done this already, if you can try to incorporate a live instrument into your music, this is more if you're doing more electronic stuff, then try to do that. Because one of the nice things about learning an instrument, especially if you're in the electronic scene, is one, like you can play that instrument live and it sets you apart from, like DJs and stuff like that, where, you just basically have the decks. I know some people do a hybrid of like decks and piano or something like that, which is up to, everyone to like whatever they want to do. But I feel like actually learning an instrument that you can incorporate into your music and your live shows will, one, make your show probably a bit more interesting. Two, will also help you understand music a bit more because you're learning it from a non-MIDI side, coming from electronic stuff. And I feel like that's really nice. Like when I learned piano, that's basically taught me like how chords can flow into each other and melodies can basically seem as one rather than chords on one side and then melody on another side. Like they can interact with each other. And that's something I've learned through playing piano after so many years.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just the human ear kind of gravitates towards unique organic sounds. It's easy to get very robotic if you're just using all synths and you're not really doing anything to, create movement, unless you're doing like some sort of 8-bit style genre or something where you want that sound. You can try to tweak with LFOs, to create movement in a sound or, like we said earlier, talking about like the contact instruments or bringing in like Foley and just like real life sounds, just to humanize it a bit.
Of course. And even the opposite can be said. If you're doing all acoustic, maybe try incorporating a little electronic stuff in every once in a while. I feel like that sounds more unique than adding like live instruments to electronic music. Because like nowadays it's kind of, like a lot of people are doing that, but I haven't heard a lot of the opposite where like you're mixing a lot of, I know Eden does some of that where you're just doing like electronic stuff with some synthesized stuff, but like try doing something, you don't want to go force yourself to like put in a song. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but find some time to be like, okay, maybe I think this could work. Oh, it does work. And then maybe put in your next song and release it. And then people might like it, people might not. That's actually links perfectly to my next point is when you're switching styles, you'll probably lose some of your fans, but those that stick around are going to be your true fans. That's something I realized when following Porter Robinson. I'm not sure if you remember Corey, but like when he switched from doing the stuff he did for like Spitfire, that was more house,
electro,
complex stroke, electro. Yeah. He started doing the stuff he's doing now and he lost a good amount of fans, but the rest of the fans that stayed, myself included, weren't, we're like, we still like what you're doing. In fact, I actually like his new style better, to be honest. And a lot of people are kind of the same, and I feel like those are true fans. They just stick around until, like the very, like the next style or whatever thing they're trying to go for, and if you just like their older style, there's nothing wrong with that though. Cause like everyone has preferences, but in terms of being an artist and having a fan base, that's the kind of mentality you want to have.
Yeah. I mean, you should never like condemn an artist because they chose to evolve into something else that was inspiring them. It's funny because you see like YouTube comments and stuff where people are like, go back to your old sound or whatever. It's like, make what you want to make. And the people who are digging it are going to come on board. And yeah, like you say, you might lose some fans, some old fans, but you might gain some new ones. So I would say just stick with whatever's inspiring you, whatever that is.
See, and it's kind of funny because I was showing my old alias to my roommate, who's also a music producer. And, a lot of the stuff is like melodic house and stuff like that, which I don't like. He's like, you should do this more often. I'm like, no, No, I can't. He's like, I like this more than your newer stuff. And I'm like, still like, I don't like it at all. I'm not passionate about it. And I feel like if you're not passionate about something, then don't pursue it. It just seems like a waste of time and energy, because all you're going to end up doing is pleasing someone, which isn't the point of music. The point of music is to express your soul in terms of, notes and lyrics, not to please someone else, And, again, this also ties into my next point. Man, I'm doing this really well. So don't force yourself to stick with something that sounds unique just because it's unique, even if you don't like it. Because if you're not passionate about it, then why are you going for it? You want to have something that's unique, but also something you really enjoy doing, and then put those together. And then there you go. You got your sound.
I guess just a personal story here real quick. I was making like trance a while back, like a year or so ago. And, it was because I sort of got involved in this local community of other like producers and, people that just like going to parties and liked the different electronic genres and stuff, that I started, kind of DJing for those guys. And that kind of got me more into like house music and stuff. 'Cause it's like, with trance, for instance, I mean, it's more of like big room, like stadium kind of music. It doesn't really translate as well into like smaller parties and stuff. So like, playing for those smaller parties, more intimate parties, made me, kind of realize like I actually really like variations of house music and just getting people to dance and everything. So, maybe if DJing or playing live is something that you want to do, like getting out there involved in a community like that and playing might kind of influence the direction your sound's going to take as well.
See, I was actually thinking about this when I was looking for venues to perform my music. Is like another thing you can do. This is more related towards the EDM side, but if you can pull off doing like an acoustic version of your song, then I feel like you can perform at more venues. So like, I don't know if like trance would probably be, I mean, I guess you could do trance with like a piano or something, but like my point is, it's like you can go to a coffee house.
Yeah, I mean, Above and Beyond did their whole acoustic thing,
Oh yeah, dude, Above and Beyond is phenomenal. But like something that you can like, for example, go to a coffee house and play and sing live or whatever you do, and so you can go to a coffee house, do that. You can go to a club and do it and play your actual version of the song. So it gives you more opportunities to expand what you're doing, because you can incorporate acoustic instruments into your electronic stuff, but also it gives you a chance to perform at venues that you probably don't typically perform at, like a coffee house, because no one really thinks EDM in coffee house. They think more like acoustic in coffee house. So, probably doing that might help you, get more fans and also find your sound.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to apply to everybody, especially producers who haven't learned an instrument or don't really plan to learn an instrument. But, if you do play guitar or piano or something, or, that's a great point.
Yeah, I remember I asked for feedback the other day on my cover song that was just all acoustic recording. And someone told me something really sad. And they said, well, the thing is, I'm an EDM producer, which just means I have an excuse to not learn an instrument or music theory. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you don't see. My thing with that is if you're an EDM producer, you should still dip your toes into other genres. You shouldn't just be focused on EDM just because EDM's the best or whatever, Like, just dip your toes into a few other things.
And it's not an excuse to not learn music theory or an instrument. I'm saying it's not a requirement, by any means. But
oh, of course.
It sounds like he's using it as an excuse to not have to, just do the bare minimum to get by kind of thing.
Yeah, there's people that would still be like, oh, you make music on your computer. It means you're not a real musician. When some of us know, music theory, you can perform an instrument, stuff like that. But, that's why the point is, like, if you want to learn an instrument, regardless of the genre you're doing, learn something you're passionate. Don't force yourself to learn guitar if you hate guitar. Don't force yourself to learn piano if you hate piano. Find something you love the sound of, you love playing, play that and try and incorporate it into your music, and that'll help you find your sound.
Yeah. And I mean, anytime you're learning an instrument, the early days are going to probably be a little frustrating, when you don't really know a whole lot, or you're not flying out of the gate, running down the piano and everything, it's going to take some, a little bit of a time investment to at least get to a point where you're enjoying it more. All right. Yeah. So I guess just to wrap up on my end. So, with finding your sound, it's not something worth stressing about, just it's going to come naturally. Just keep making music, keep making what inspires you. Check out that Centorial.com. We'll leave a link in the show notes. Check out some tutorials, on how to make some of these sounds that you like, and, just kind of run with it and go from there, and just don't be in a hurry.
And then, like summary from my end, basically just, remember that no one has their sound right away. So don't worry if it takes you a bit longer than others. Listen to stuff outside of your main genre, something you're passionate about. It can be your style can be a collage of different, artists that you like. Just don't plagiarize. That's a big point to remember. Everything is just tools, not rules. If you want to learn to play an instrument that'll help you find your sound and make your shows more, engaging, then go for it. If not, that's totally up to you. And, remember that if you're switching styles, maybe you might lose some fans, but those who stay will be the true fans right there. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name's Felipe.
And I'm Corey. And you guys can check out the show notes at producerevolution.com/006.
Have a good one, guys.
Don't forget to check out Producer Evolution on Facebook and Instagram, and at Producer Evo on Twitter. You can find the show notes for this and our other episodes, as well as our courses on producerevolution.com. See you next time.